Local people, important issues. CBS 10 WILM's weekly focus on the Lower Cape Fear region. This is Byline Wilmington with your host, Don Ansell.
Welcome and good morning. Well, one of the issues that's been making recent headlines is the cost of insurance. Now, for most of us, the costs are escalating while the coverage is shrinking. North Carolina has a newly elected insurance commissioner. He's a native North Carolinian. He's a Moorhead Scholar. He served 4 terms in the North Carolina State House, and he served 4 years as our state's assistant insurance commissioner. Wayne Goodwin, thank you for joining us this morning. Thank you for coming down to be our guest. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Before we talk about some of the specific issues we're going to talk about, you have an interesting, what I call dual role. You're an advocate for the consumer, but you also have to make sure that the business environment stays viable, that insurance companies want to do business in North Carolina. How do you balance those two?
Well, some folks may think that it's a balance that can't be reached, but actually it can be. The state law says that the insurance commissioner must do, in a nutshell, 2 things. Ensure affordable, accessible insurance of all types for North Carolinians, whether for individuals, families, or businesses, and at the same time, ensure that we have a well-regulated, solvent, competitive market. And frankly, I see them complementing each other because consumers benefit by having a solvent market. That means you get your claims paid, and you have choice when it's competitive, choice among different companies. And of course, when you have affordable rates, everybody wins too.
You mentioned regulating, and that's one of the functions of the department.
Yes, sir.
How does it differ in different areas? For example, auto insurance and homeowners. How does the department's ability to regulate differ in those 2 areas?
Well, in some ways they're similar. Obviously, there are different time requirements for when insurance companies through the Rate Bureau can seek a change.
And we're going to talk about the Rate Bureau in just a moment,
Yes,
because
sir.
that's a whole area
Yes, sir.
I don't think our viewers are familiar with, but go ahead, sorry.
It's very complex, and whether for auto or for homeowners, we have a large number of actuaries and experts who are looking for every way they can to ensure that the numbers that are provided to the Department of Insurance either justify or do not justify what the industry is seeking. And sometimes, in fact, on many occasions, there are rate reductions. And that's because our folks on staff at the department find out that rate reductions are necessary.
As a matter of fact, this Monday, the rubber will hit the pedal will hit the mat when the auto industry and the auto insurance industry and your department get together to decide what the rate's going to be for the coming year?
Well, I wouldn't say get together, but what happens is state law requires every year that the insurance industry on automobile insurance coverage have a filing to state what they believe should be the rate for the coming year.
Right.
And when that is received, it's a public document, when that is received by the Department of Insurance through my office as insurance commissioner, I then have it assigned to our actuaries, all these experts who crunch some very complex numbers. And then they make a recommendation to me as the new insurance commissioner, and that would be either to accept or deny or reject whatever the industry seeks.
But you're calling for a reduction, are you not? There's a department on auto insurance?
On auto, that's right. The most recent filing, which is on appeal to the Court of Appeals, seeks a reduction of more than 13%. The industry,
and the auto is disputing that.
They're
disputing
they want
that.
An increase. They want an increase, and my office and the department, we believe the rates should be lowered. They should be dropped.
When will that be decided?
I'm not sure. That's up to the court process. That's actually out of our hands. But what happens in general when a filing is made, like the one that's coming up next week, that's coming next few days, is that my office would determine whether a settlement can be reached or whether we need to have a public hearing. And I would serve as the hearing officer, the judge. And
so you'd make the determination?
I would, and we'd allow the industry to present its evidence, but then we'd also allow the attorneys representing the consumers of this state to present their evidence. And then if after my ruling the insurance industry doesn't like my decision, then they have the option of appealing it if they so choose.
Let's focus for a moment on what's currently one of the more controversial issues. concerning homeowners insurance and what's known as the Beach Plan. I know there's ongoing litigation, so that you're maybe limited in what you can talk about, but can you tell us generally what the plan is about and give us the general parameters of what's going on with the controversy?
And you're exactly right. Since there is pending litigation, the Attorney General's office has advised all parties not to discuss pending litigation, but I can certainly talk about the process and how this has gotten to the point.
Right.
The Beach Plan, as people know it, it's also known as the WILM pool, was created 40 years ago. It was by the legislature, and it was supposed to provide a couple of things. One, it was to provide an incentive for insurance companies to provide coverage on the coast, the beach and coast of North Carolina, and that was to help promote economic development on the coast of North Carolina. Of course, that part has worked. We've seen some tremendous growth in economic development on the beach and coasts of North Carolina. But the other requirement was that when this was created 40 years ago by the legislature, is that this wind pool was to be the market of last resort. It was supposed to be insurance coverage for homeowners that folks would go to if they couldn't get coverage through the private market.
And what would be a reason folks couldn't get coverage? Would it be geographic issues too close to a hurricane-prone area? Or would it be because they've had prior claims for that type of
in general,
damage?
In general, it could be any of those. Just the bottom line was that if someone couldn't get coverage, then this was the market of last resort. But what happened over time, over 40 years, and this is general knowledge, is that what was to be the market of last resort became the insurer, in many respects, of first resort. And that's why the Legislative Study Committee that concluded last week its meetings is making some recommendations to try and fix the problem. And I welcome that. The legislators, I believe, are required to help us solve this problem.
I know there's questions in the public's mind about the plan and why rate increases for beach communities are lower than the increases on the mainland. Can you comment on that?
Can't really comment on it. One, in part because the decisions were made by my predecessor, and I can't speak for Insurance Commissioner Long. That did not involve me whatsoever. But they also is that because of the Attorney General's
But are you supporting that?
I don't have a position. I don't have a position because it's not in my hands. That's in the hands of the courts. But I do want to underscore this point that my goal is to ensure affordable insurance for everybody, make sure that rates are fair for all lines of insurance, and that's because I'm required to do that, to make sure that rates are fair. And as the new Commissioner of Insurance, that's what I will do, is to meet both those goals, the fair, affordable insurance, and also make sure that we have a market that gives us choice, so folks can get a choice among hopefully discounts and other things.
We're going to come right back and talk more about the Rate Bureau. What is their function in the state? We'll talk about State Farm pulling out of Florida, State Farm Insurance pulling out of Florida, and some of the reasons perhaps behind that. And could that affect North Carolina? Stay with us. We'll be right back with Insurance Commissioner Wayne Goodwin.